So last time we looked at the tier groups of the S-Class heroes, but this time we're going to be looking at where the Monster Association falls into those groups. And instead of 18 heroes grouped into 5 tiers, it's going to be 21 monsters into 5 tiers. That also means we're only going to be looking at the strongest demons and up. Anyone weaker than that just didn't make the cut for this one. And just like before, these tier groups will give us a better understanding of the hierarchy and a broader look at the power of these monsters, rather than trying to objectively say who is stronger than who and place them in individual rankings. But unlike last time, this video will contain webcomic spoilers. It's really the only way I can break these guys down accurately. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen, I suggest you check it out now. So we're also going to be starting with tier 4, and this is going to consist of the strongest demon. So Pure Blood. Definitely a high demon. He's really got everything. He's got super speed, super strength, regeneration, has the ability to like become bats. He can like suck you dry and then re-heal himself that way. He can make his like bat form suck you dry. Like he's pretty significant, but he kind of just had that bad matchup against Zombie Man. Really a lot of people have a bad matchup with him. Then we have Harigiri, who doesn't really have a lot of feats. It's more so the implications of his power. Now, he was a part of the Council of Swordsmen. We could just assume that those are all probably S-Class level guys. I mean, if Atomic Samurai rolls with those dudes and respects them to some degree, they're pretty powerful. But we also know that Harigiri ate monster cells, so that improved his power, which he said that before he even ate the cells, that he was able to draw his blade faster than the speed of sound, which is up there with the speed of Sonic, obviously. It really remains to be seen how fast Harigiri is post Monster Cells, as he didn't really hold a candle to Atomic Samurai, but I still feel that Harigiri, and being that fast, sets him apart from the rest of the demons here for sure, and I'm sure he would give any other S-Class hero like probably some trouble for sure. Then we have Awakened Cockroach. This guy's definitely a high demon, one of the fastest demons we've ever seen, and pretty powerful and formidable as well. Like he was going against G4 Genos really well. Gave him like a super competitive fight, almost even defeated G4 Genos. So Awakened Cockroach definitely cut above the rest. Then we have G5, like I consider him to be Drive Knight, but still this form of him is considered to be a demon, and he is nerfed in this form because he can only do so much in this G5 Samurai robot form, but he's still pretty powerful. You know, he was strong enough to make Child Emperor just not even want to deal with him, made him run away, essentially. And the way that he was able to compete with Atomic Samurai, probably the most competitive that any demon had went against Atomic Samurai at that point. He was able to match, like, his restrained speed. Like, of course, he wasn't able to deal with the Atomic Slash, but no demon is really able to do that. But I just feel like G5 is definitely a high demon, given his feats. So now we're going into, like, the above demon guys. So we'll start with Evil Eye, who is one of the rare Esper monsters that is in Kiro Kiro. Pretty powerful. We saw that he was able to like juggle buildings. Like that was pretty significant. If Tatsumaki wasn't there, I feel like Evil Eye would have gave the S-Class heroes, or at least the weaker ones, especially the poor team, an extremely hard time. The cable car throwing, the building throwing, that's all pretty powerful stuff. Like, it's borderline dragon potential in my opinion. And then Bug God, probably the strongest demon in the Monster Association in my opinion, just in his base form. Like a Pre-Wogaro really wasn't able to do anything to him. Like he hit him with an earnest shot to his solar plexus and didn't even move him or anything. That was pretty good. And then when he transformed, went to his 6-armed mode, we could assume that he's obviously stronger in that form. Now, granted, he wasn't able to do anything to Super Alec Darkshine, but still, he's probably going to above Demon at that point for sure. So then we have Tier 3, and this is where the dragons are going to begin. These are like the low to mid-dragon level guys. Not quite Cadre level, but still pretty formidable. They are dragons after all. And this is where Bakuzan would be if he was a part of the Monster Association, and I don't think he was a full-fledged member, so I didn't really add him here. But we have Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame. These guys are outrageous. Obviously, they lost to Flashy Flash, but he is a friggin' high dragon after all, at least by my estimation. And he is a master ninja, so he already knows what they're all about, which means that he is a bad matchup for them, and that played into how he was able to take care of them. But I feel like if these guys went against any of the other S-Class heroes that weren't in what I put tier 0, I feel like he would give them a hard time, or at the minimum be pretty competitive. And not even working together, that's a whole other story. I mean, just individually, these guys are pretty powerful. I mean, their speed alone, they're some of the fastest characters in the entire series. So that's very telling of itself, but when they work together, that's a whole different story. Then we have Phoenix Man in his resurrected form. At his base right here, he's like low dragon level. He has like the low dragon speed, strength, durability, but then he also can transform into his Falcon mode, which increases his speed. Then he has his energy absorption mode, which seems to increase his strength more or less, but the ability to absorb energy is pretty significant. He wasn't really too impressive against Brave Giant, but he did put up a pretty competitive fight. But then things changed once he resurrected again, but we can't forget that he does have that power, which is always lingering in him, which is outrageous in itself. Then next up, we have Tier 2, and this is where the cadres are going to begin. These are like the solidified mid-dragons, and then going into like high dragon territory. So we'll start off with Phoenix Man since we left off on him, because once he goes into his Brilliant Eagle form, he's definitely a high dragon here, but probably the weakest high dragon that is a part of the Monster Association, at least in my opinion. But that does not mean he's weak, obviously. He is outrageous in this form. Super fast, super powerful. Brave Giant couldn't do anything to him once he was in this form. And then we can't forget, he has one of the most significant abilities in the series, and with his King Awakening Light, he can resurrect the dead. And there doesn't really seem to be a level cap on this, as he was able to bring back Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame in their monster form, so we just have talked about were dragons. That is crazy. Also, he still has the energy absorption ability. He has like 8 or 9 eyes of vision. He's just outrageous in this form, but not quite going to like tier 1 level, but he's right on the cusp of that in my opinion. Then we have Pure Ugly, who is like a solid mid-dragon in my opinion. He doesn't really have anything going for him that's outrageous, but he's just solid in all areas. Super fast, super strong, durable, I guess, as a mid-dragon would be, and then he can transform. It really remains to be seen how powerful he is once he transforms, because he doesn't really do anything too notable. He does die by bang, so that's kind of like lowering his durability, but still, Pure Ugly, pretty powerful for a dragon, no doubt about that. Then we have Neon, who is probably one of the weaker of the mid-dragons. Ultra fast. I think it's shown that he's probably one of the fastest executives. I mean, his speed is put on display more so than the others. He has the crazy claw attacks, his feline retribution when he's really trying, can like level portions of cities. He can come up with like waves, like a boss attack from a video game. Very cool. Then he can do that paper thin mode where he's like snaky and becomes, I think it was like 3 millimeters. I forget the exact length. But then he was able to like go inside of Drive 9 and go inside of his like circuitry and stuff. That's insane. But he doesn't really seem to excel in like a durability, and he does have that drawback to where he's kind of like a coward. I guess that's like one of his drawbacks, I suppose, but still no joke. And then Gums doesn't really have anything too special about him. I guess he kind of has the same abilities as Pig God. Super strong, I guess, super durable, not really fast. He doesn't really have a lot of feats to him. He did defeat Pig God, but then he just gets offed by, Bang. So, yeah, Gums, I feel like he's got to be a mid-dragon to be at a cadre, at least. Then Homeless Emperor, he has a super significant ability with his light spheres. There's no doubt about that, and they've obviously been buffed up in the manga, and I'm sure the feats that we see of him in the war will be amplified as well. And he's able to use these to his defense. As we saw, he was able to counter Zombie Man's bullets with his light spheres, which he didn't do in the webcomic originally. So that kind of sealed up one of his weaknesses. And he does have ultra-fast reflexes, obviously, since he was able to counterattack a bullet that was a surprise attack. So that's cool, but other than that, I guess he's still like a glass cannon, right? Maybe he has durability that's been enhanced in the manga that we haven't seen yet, but in the webcomic, he was overpowered by Zombie Man once he got a hold of him. So, yeah, I mean, mid-dragon based off of abilities alone, but other than that, he doesn't really excel anywhere else. And then we have Psychos, who is probably a mid-dragon as well. I mean, at least Giro Giro was established to be a dragon, and then later on Psychos is as well. And I don't feel like she's like a high dragon, although her Esper abilities are pretty darn impressive. Probably the second strongest Esper that we've seen so far. And what she was able to do against Tatsumaki, regardless of the circumstances, is pretty impressive. Anyone that could do something like that to like an above dragon, pretty darn impressive. She has a couple good feats to her for sure, but she is ultimately defeated by Fubuki. Now, of course, there is that special technique, that reverse polarity, if you will, that Fubuki was able to do to her. But still, it's kind of like a big drawback, and it's a big dent in her record here. She can do like the Force Lightning, which I'm sure they'll expand upon. This was a new development in the manga, and as Tatsumaki said, that was very impressive of an Esper, but Psychos I don't think is going into High Dragon territory. So then we have Tier 1, and these are the elite of the Monster Association. These are like the definitive High Dragons. So we'll start with Black S, and I think we all agree, more or less, you know, maybe the consensus, that he's probably the strongest cadre, right? His ability is probably the most significant, as well as just what else he can do outside of his multiplication and splitting and malleableness that he has. He can also, like, just create, like, a giant arm, or he could just keep splitting himself, and when he does split himself, it's not like he lacks power. Just, like, one individual guy is, like, as strong as, like, what, a dragon? Probably, right? Powerful enough to wreck Atomic Samurai, wreck all of the other S-Class heroes, more or less, put up a fight against anyone. It's also revealed that he has 11 trillion friggin' cells, meaning that in theory he could split himself up into 11 trillion individual little versions of himself. Now, of course, they're all not going to be as powerful, but still, that's insane, and there's no real way to defeat this guy without disintegrating him. And that's also another reason why they kind of upgraded Atomic Samurai and his like concentrated atomic slash that he was able to do, just so he could save face and not just completely get beat down by Black S. But then also, you know, like he can combine himself, which we're going to talk about obviously later. But Black S, probably the most significant. Elder Centipede, near the size of like a portion of a city. One of the most durable monsters in the series. Bang, Bomb, and Genos all working together. Couldn't really do anything against him. But that's all he really has going for him. I mean, he does have like those claw, sword, mouth things, which are pretty cool. But he's just a big bulldozer, more or less. And he does have some glaring weaknesses, but definitely a high dragon. Come on. Evil Natural Water took a punch from Saitama and lived to tell the tale. That's all that really needs to be said. But he is sentient water. His jet streams are some of the most powerful attacks in the series, in my opinion. One of the fastest, definitely said by Child Emperor that it can't be perceived by the human eyes, and that you kind of have to guess where they're going. Although that's kind of changed in the manga since E-Iron was able to avoid the initial jet stream from Evil Natural Water, so we'll see what's going on with him. But still, like, he's water, and in order to fully defeat him, you need to find the heart, but the heart's also made of water. He's pretty much unfair and ultra durable and can like change his forms. He becomes a dragon. I can't wait to see what Murata has to do with that. Then we have Overgrown Rover, one of the most powerful monsters we've ever seen. I mean, come on. His ability to spam those fire energy plasma balls, whatever you want to call them, is outrageous. His feats in Chapter 91 are some of the most impressive feats we have seen in the series. His durability is up there too. Pre-Woke Garo, full power strike did nothing to him. He literally shook it off. Now, granted, his stock kind of declined a little bit, in my opinion, after we saw how it played out with Saitama in the manga. Now, he does take a punch from Saitama and live. He does do that, but it seems like Saitama might have been holding back more so than he does with typical monsters. He kind of saw Overgrown Rover as a real dog, which probably Overgrown Rover is. He probably had a similar transformation to that of Neon, but didn't really gain intelligence the way that Neon did. So Saitama was kind of taking it easy on him, but he still did take a punch where the shockwave was felt by everyone. That's still pretty impressive. And then he does survive the Crossfang Dragon Slayer Fist from Bang and Bomb after getting damage from Saitama. So, ultra durable. One of the craziest abilities with those energy spheres. High Dragon through and through. And then Goketsu. I love this guy. It's too bad he went as quick as he did. Definitely a High Dragon in my opinion. So fast. So fast. Faster than Suiryu by a large margin, who was pretty fast. And he's, deceptively fast for somebody his size, which is kind of unfair. He's a master martial artist, which is kind of unfair for somebody as powerful as him. And we've seen that being a master martial artist is a huge advantage, almost nearly anyone else throughout this series so far. Also, just the force, like the wind pressure off of one of his earnest punches when he was displaying his power to Bakuzan, easily blew away that portion of a stadium. Also, when we see like the impacts of him fighting Saitama, it's like causing shockwaves. Like Goketsu, unfair. Like not as unfair as Evil Natural Water, but pretty darn powerful. However, he did die by a single punch from Saitama, which is not pushing him higher than the rest of them who have survived. Just one punch from Saitama. And then finally we have Tier 0. These are the above dragons. So with Golden S, it really remains to be seen if this guy is definitively above dragon or if he is just like the strongest high dragon. I know I say this a lot, but we really have to wait to see what he's about in the manga. But I will just put him here for now because I feel that he's probably a cut above the guys in Tier 1. Now, of course, he doesn't have the abilities of Black S since he loses those after he's merged his cells together, but he does have strength and speed on his side. He's kind of like a nerfed Boros in a way. He like kind of brings the same kind of dynamic that he does. But also, he kind of does like a Dragon Ball Z like power-up kind of, right? Before he goes after Pre-Will Garo. But then he's able to push Pre-Will Garo to the point of becoming Awakened Garo. So that's pretty impressive and pretty telling of his power. Also, he does like the Ultra Instinct to Tatsumaki. We can't forget about that. And then he was able to resist getting his neck snapped by Tatsumaki. Now, granted, she was injured. And of course, we all have to remember that one said Tatsumaki, at her prime shape or when she's fully healthy, could defeat Golden S. And of course, she's an above dragon. She's very powerful. So that's not really saying much. But still, Golden S, I feel that he should be in Tier 0. But he's not quite as strong as Orochi, in my opinion. Or at least his webcomic version. And it's kind of unfair because we've seen what Orochi could do in the manga. And we haven't seen what Golden S can do yet. So maybe he will trump Orochi at that time. But for now, Orochi is the strongest member of the Monster Association. Above Dragon through and through. I mean, this was even confirmed by Murata, who said he was greater to or equal than Dragon. Also could be considered Dragon or above Dragon. He's one of the poster boys for this. I mean, if you haven't read Chapter 108 for some reason, please read it. Some of the most impressive feats of power throughout the entire series, even up there with Boros, like the beams, the plasma fire crazy blast that he's pulling off, it is like city wiping power, easy, because Orochi is the 10th the size of Beefcake, as said by Murata, and the beams that he's firing when the bird eye perspective that we get of it are just as big as Orochi. So his beams are the size of himself, and they're going like a mile. I don't know, at the minimum, they're going like a mile, and that's just underground, and he can just spam those things, and he can transform into like that crazy T-Rex form, or he can bring himself compact and do like crazy stuff in that form. He could do the freaking Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist with multiple dragons on one arm. Like, Saitama had to take him out for a reason, because I really don't think any of the other S-Class heroes, besides like Tatsumaki, Blast, and King, would have been able to deal with Orochi. It's a shame that he had to go. He might come back. Check out my video, why Orochi may return, but still, he is a cut above the rest, easily. Just his crazy friggin' plasma beams. We don't even have to talk about his horns, the other things that he could do with his dragons, and the ability where he can just copy techniques. Like, he has that crazy martial arts genius ability that Garo has. It's just overkill at this point. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about these tier groups. Were they kind of accurate? Let me know where you would put these individual characters in your own groups. And other than that, if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.